Today is National Scotch Day out there, and it is Friday, of course. If you're pre-gaming right now for your nighttime festivities, well, engage in the Cam Rogers Show drinking game. And if you're under 21, just drink apple juice. It's the same thing. All right, let's go to those NFL rumors. A lot of top stories to discuss. And let's start things off with Odell Beckham Jr. We know he is looking for a contract extension. And it looks like it could happen this summer. Now, John Mara, the co-owner, is ready to re-sign Odell Beckham Jr. as he enters his final year of his deal. He said, quote, "We'll be speaking with his agent sooner rather than later. Hopefully, we'll come to an agreement." Now, Mara said he feels OBJ has improved his behavior. Beckham has been personally improving and going in the right direction, according to Mara. Now, of course, OBJ said from the start that he was not going to hold out throughout training camp, mini camp, etc., and he has stuck to his word. Now, Beckham is set to make $8.459 million in 2018, grossly underpaid for being a top-line wide receiver in the National Football League. Now, the fact that Odell Beckham Jr. hasn't been holding out is probably part of the reason why the Giants are actually interested in engaging in negotiations with Odell. And why am I mentioning this point? Maybe this is a lesson for all of the players out there that are currently holding out, expecting a direction, an improvement in their contract situation. If you want an extension, why don't you actually show up to the football field, show up to the practice facilities, actually be present in front of the decision makers within the organization, i.e. what Odell Beckham Jr. has been doing. And look at that. The Giants are willing to talk. So I'm looking at you, Le'Veon Bell. I'm looking at you, Khalil Mack, who apparently has not been talking to John Gruden at all. I'm looking at you, Aaron Donald. All these players here are currently holding out, top-line players in the National Football League. There's the list, Earl Thomas included as well. Call me crazy, but doesn't it make more sense for these players to actually show up for training camp, mini camp, whatever the case may be, OTAs, and actually have a dialogue with these coaches, have a dialogue with the leadership of their franchise? I think that sends a better message than just not going at all. In fact, it kind of sends a pouty message, if you will, like, oh, I'm not getting what I want. I'm just going to sit back, stay at home, and whine. Whereas you could actually be proactive about the situation, which is exactly what Odell Beckham Jr. is doing, and maybe you get the money you're looking for. So, Odell, I commend you for what you are doing, and it looks like things are going to work out favorably for you. You may get that extension before the regular season kicks off. So, for OBJ, perhaps he's setting a precedent, if you will, for other players out there. And hopefully Earl Thomas, Aaron Donald, all these big-time players in the National Football League are seeing this and saying to themselves, maybe we should just do what Odell Beckham Jr. is doing and actually show up. All right, next up on the list, the Seahawks have cut Malik McDowell, who never played a snap for the team, by the way. He was hurt in an ATV crash, never played as a rookie. He may never be able to play again. That's one of the concerning things about McDowell. He was the 35th overall selection in the 2017 NFL Draft. Now, it's unclear whether the Seahawks will go after any of the $3.19 million worth of signing bonuses that they paid to McDowell, because teams sometimes do this when a player can't play. So keep that in mind there. But McDowell no longer a member of the Seattle Seahawks. Really tough situation to see there. Going 35 overall, never seeing a snap in the NFL, and then your career is just done with that. But look, he's probably focusing on his health overall anyway. So there you go. Another bad nugget of information, I guess, for the Seattle Seahawks franchise. All right, folks, the NFL national anthem debate is alive and well, and everybody is giving their 2 cents out there, Adam Gase included. So the USA Today reported that Dolphins head coach Adam Gase implied suspending players for protesting the anthem is unlikely. Gase said he will wait to see what policy the NFL actually implements, saying, quote, "I'll wait and see what we're told by the NFL and the NFLPA as far as how their conversations go." Went on to say, "If anyone knew actual rules of the NFL, good luck suspending somebody. It takes about 5,000 things before anybody can get suspended." Now, the Dolphins, of course, received a backlash after the Associated Press released a report that indicated the Miami Dolphins organization was ready to suspend players up to 4 games if they kneeled during the national anthem. Now, Dolphins owner Stephen Ross said that was a, quote, "placeholder until the team further discussed the matter." Now, Gay said the backlash may be overblown and will wait to hear directions from the NFL before commenting any further. Now, the NFLPA and the NFL today will be meeting about the national anthem debate and what sort of policy to put out there. As we stand right now, the policy is on hold. We all know the NFL released its policy back in May that requires players to stand during the national anthem, or they have the option to stay in the locker room. If they choose to kneel, that team is subject to a fine. Now, that team can then trickle down that fine to whatever player actually kneeled during the anthem, but that's, of course, up to the team itself. That policy is on hold because the NFLPA said, well, wait a minute, you said this was a compromise. You didn't even talk to us about this policy, and so you essentially created this, leaving us in the dark. So here is the NFLPA filing this non-injury grievance against the NFL, and the NFL recently released a joint statement with the NFLPA saying that, okay, the policy is on hold. We will discuss the future of this debate. And I'm going to ask you guys here, because on the Cam Rogers Show, it is about you. Does kneeling during the national anthem bother you? Does it bother you? Does it rub you the wrong way? Will it cause you to watch less NFL football? Type Y for yes, type N for no. A lot of people out there are just like, you know what? Don't televise the national anthem. I don't want to see it. I don't want to be a part of it. I just want to see football. Other people are like, it's a respect thing. You should stand during the national anthem and figure out a way to protest in another realm, perhaps maybe off the football field or whatever the case may be. And then, of course, there's the argument that the players are indeed employees of the NFL and as such should follow the policies that their employer puts out. And if not, then they are subject to suspension, fines, being fired perhaps. And so a lot of people kind of use that argument. Now, Kenny Stills recently spoke on this matter, and Stills is a member of the Miami Dolphins, of course, a wide receiver there. He said the NFL should have no national anthem policy at all. He thinks the players should have free will in regards to this debate, saying, quote, "Obviously, I'd like to see there be no policy at all, and the guys have a choice to go out there and do what they want to." Now, Stills has kneeled during the national anthem before and said he may continue to do so. Stills was asked also about his thoughts on Jerry Jones, and we'll get to him, saying that he wants all Dallas Cowboys players to stand. Stills went on to say, "I wouldn't expect anything different." Folks, we're talking about one franchise here in the Miami Dolphins, and we're seeing 3 different perspectives. One, Stephen Ross with the perspective that, well, maybe we'll suspend players for 4 games. There's the quote from Kenny Stills, by the way. Adam Gase taking the more down the middle of the aisle approach, saying that, okay, well, let's wait until the NFL and NFLPA come out with some sort of policy. And then you have Kenny Stills saying, well, there shouldn't be any policy at all. I should be able to do whatever I want. And I'm making this point because the Miami Dolphins are not unique in this matter, folks. There are divisions within every NFL franchise about this very topic. And that's why I have been arguing week in and week out that this is only going to get messier because there is no possible solution to this matter. And I'll get more into that too in regards to the President of the United States tweeting at around 4 a.m. today, congratulating Jerry Jones on his thoughts. Now, who should decide on the national anthem policy. Should it be Goodell? Should it be the players? Should it be the NFLPA and NFL combined like what we're headed for right now? It's very much up in the air. And I wonder if people out there actually believe that there should just be no policy at all and kind of an individual decision. Like I said, it's messy. There are many layers to this. Kenny Stills firmly in the camp that, well, I want to kneel during the national anthem to push forward this dialogue of social injustice, because that is the main motivation for kneeling during the national anthem. There is no other motivation out there. It is not protesting the anthem per se. It is not protesting the flag per se. It is trying to create some sort of discussion in regards to an inequality in the United States. So that brings us to Jerry Jones, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Jones reiterated that all players of the Dallas Cowboys must stand during the national anthem, said he won't support a player that remains in the locker room during the anthem, which was part of the NFL's original policy back in May. Jones said, quote, "Our policy is you stand for the anthem, toe on the line." So in this instance, it sends a clear message. And it sounds quite similar to what the 45th president of the United States wants. President Trump actually didn't even like the NFL's new policy, which was meant to satisfy him in the first place. Trump said that staying in the locker room was actually worse than what the policy was to begin with. So the president of the United States tweeted early this morning actually congratulating Jerry Jones on his stance in regards to the national anthem, and we'll flash that as well on the screen. But also, Jerry Jones has praised the NFL and NFLPA for trying to jointly craft a new anthem policy, and then went on to say he called Trump's continuous jabs as problematic. So there's the president. Way to go, Jerry. This is what the league should do. And this brings me to a very important point, because President Trump will continue to put his 2 cents into all of this until he is satisfied with the national anthem policy. But he likely, at the same time, will continue to comment on it because players will likely continue to kneel, regardless if the national anthem policy is to Trump's liking. So if you're the NFL owners, you have to wonder if you are fighting a losing battle at this point. Because either way, President Trump is going to tweet. If the NFL and NFLPA create a policy that is in line with what President Trump wants, players are still going to protest. And then come the Trump tweets. And then come the Trump calls for boycotting the NFL. And then come the fans who show up less. And then come the sponsors fleeing. And if the NFL and NFLPA do not create a policy that is to Trump's liking, well, of course Trump's going to tweet. So either way, you're getting tweets. Either way, you're getting potential backlash. Either way, you're getting calls for boycotting the NFL. And so this turns into a marathon of sorts with no real end in sight, I feel. And I'm not taking any particular stance on this matter. I'm just telling you the reality of the situation, having studied this debate for many, many months, down to the very word of the NFL's policy in May and what the NFLPA is looking for. If NFL leadership give players free will to kneel during the national anthem, Trump will tweet. If the NFL requires players to stand, players will still protest and Trump will tweet. So the main motivation for the NFL owners at least is to quiet down Trump's criticisms of their policies, but it's clear that that's not going to stop regardless. Trump's going to continue to go after Roger Goodell. Trump's going to continue to go after the NFL owners because even if he is satisfied at the NFL's policy, he's going to find a way to be dissatisfied, if you will. Even though internally he's satisfied, he wants to stir something up a little bit in regards to this debate because it feeds into his base, and that's just the reality of the situation. It's a strategic move by the president. So, ladies and gentlemen, much like the game has shifted from running to passing, the game is shifting from non-political to political. And I'm not here to say whether that's bad or good per se. I'm here to say that's the new reality of the NFL. when you have the leader of the free world now being involved in this debate, and people like you guys, of course, which I always appreciate, giving your 2 cents on this matter, because I think it's a dialogue worth having. If you like my page, The Cam Rogers Show on Facebook, you know I always throw out details on the national anthem debate and the negotiations that are going on, and you guys usually give in your 2 cents. And I always get many different opinions. I have a lot of people that say, well, Trump is doing the right thing. I have a lot of people saying that, well, Trump should stay out of it. I have a lot of people saying that just don't televise the anthem altogether. And so as we enter the Hall of Fame game, the preseason in general, and then the regular season, this is something that is going to continue to come up. I don't care what the final compromise is between the NFL and NFLPA, because in the end, what I'm trying to say, it ain't going to matter. It just won't. Because in America, we're all about a marketplace of ideas, differential in opinion. And that will always be the case. There will always be a dissenting side to something, national anthem included. So you can compromise all you want, but in the end, there will be people out there calling for a boycott of the NFL, and if it's President Trump doing so, NFL owners should be worried, and their pocketbooks could get lighter. All right, you're watching The Cam Rogers Show, presented by Autolist. If you're looking for a new or used car out there and you're tired of browsing a million sites, go to Autolist.com to browse the largest source of inventory on the web, or download their top-rated mobile app for iPhone or Android today. We thank them for coming along for the ride here on this Friday. I am Cam Rogers. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. Let's continue along here with the latest NFL rumors. The Browns could perhaps sign Pacman Jones, the former Cincinnati Bengal, the grizzled veteran, if you will, 34 years young. He is trying out with the Browns today. Now, Jones suffered a season-ending groin injury last year with Cincinnati. He was the starter with the Bengals, but they declined to pick up his option. So, of course, he's an unrestricted free agent as we stand now. We know that Pacman has had some NFL-related issues on the field, off the field, etc., but I think he'd be a good fit in that Browns secondary that looks pretty good. Denzel Ward, whom they recently signed officially, first-round selection from the draft. E.J. Gaines comes on over from Buffalo. Bodie Calhoun is pretty good at slot corner as well. So the Browns have a pretty darn good secondary in place. In all, this is a team that is getting better by the day, it seems. Now, Jarvis Landry is thinking Super Bowl. We'll get to that story later in the program. But Pacman Jones could be staying in the AFC North, signing with the Cleveland Browns. So stay tuned on that. All right, let's continue along here and talk about Julio Jones. So he got his revised contract. So remember what I said, that people should be more like OBJ and like show up to training camp and then they get what they want? Well, I guess this is the exception, because Julio Jones got what he wants by pouting. Now, NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport reported that Julio Jones and the Falcons have agreed to a revised contract with an adjusted salary. So they moved $2.7 million from 2019 and 2020 to the 2018 year of his deal. So basically moving more money up for this season. Now, Jones has 3 years left on his deal, but was comfortable skipping training camp, shall we say, until his contract was restructured. Now, GM Thomas Dimitroff said, quote, "We have come to an agreement with Julio, and we will readdress everything in 2019. The announcement came after pretty much the Falcons extended everybody else except Julio Jones. Talking about Dan Quinn, signed a 3-year extension, a couple others as well. So Jones attended the start of training camp just recently, so all is good in the world in regards to Julio. Now, the Falcons have now secured futures of quarterback Matt Ryan, superstar receiver Julio Jones, general manager Dimitroff, and now head coach Dan Quinn. Could be one of the more stable franchises for the years to come, ladies and gentlemen, because we're talking about a Falcons team that is really good in terms of their depth chart. Very solid top down. I think they have a really balanced roster. So I think this team will most certainly be in the Super Bowl conversation next season, but I also think that the Falcons will be in the conversation for many years I'm talking about longevity here. This is not a flash-in-the-pan type of situation with the Atlanta Falcons here. So keep that in mind. All right, let's continue along here. Talk about Rob Gronkowski. Never considered a holdout with the New England Patriots. He told reporters it hasn't even come close to considering that. Now, Gronkowski is focused on getting better in every way. He gave the typical cookie-cutter response in regards to the Patriots and playing tight end and being a part of New England and all that stuff, saying, quote, "There's one thing that I can control, and that's myself. That's my play. That's me going out there doing what I've got to do to help the team." Classic Bill Belichick textbook response there. So Gronkowski expressed confidence in a contract restructuring. So keep that in mind. They are working on that as we stand. Gronk wants a little more money, and rightfully so. He deserves way more than what he's actually getting for this coming season there. Gronk was at the center of some trade rumors a couple of months ago, folks. So that was an interesting time when I was talking about that and the perhaps ongoing friction within the Patriots organization. So Gronkowski, he's happy. He talked with Bill Belichick a couple of months ago. Of course, he made that announcement on Instagram that he is returning to the New England Patriots. So there you go. Gronk in the flesh. Never considered holding out. Meanwhile, Khalil Mack is in an interesting situation. He's holding out of training camp, and guess what? He hasn't even spoken with Chucky, John Gruden, the $1 million head coach here. Now, Adam Schefter reported that Mack has yet to speak with Gruden since he was hired in January. This is kind of odd. And I know Mack is looking for a new contract. I understand that. He wants an extension. He wants to get paid big time. But it's like, wait, what? It's one of those moments. John Gruden also recently said that extending Mack is the Raiders' #1 priority. And Gruden hasn't even talked to this guy. So, like, Schefter went on to say that Gruden has actually tried to contact Mack, but hasn't even succeeded in doing so. So Mack and the Raiders are in a standoff currently. Mack isn't attending training camp while he's pushing for this new contract. He will become an unrestricted free agent after the 2018 season, but that's not a worry for the Raiders. He's going to remain in Oakland. It's just a matter of time before he signs this deal. Now, he will earn some $13.85 million in his fifth-year option here, and he's likely to get some sort of deal this summer, I would think. But this story is pretty compelling to me, considering that Mack hasn't even spoken to John Gruden. Is he trying to send some sort of message here to the Raiders leadership and GM Reggie McKenzie, like, hey, I'm not talking to your new head coach until I get the money that I deserve? And Khalil Mack is one of the premier pass rushers in the NFL. And in this league, cornerbacks, quarterbacks, and pass rushers are highly coveted. And so I understand where Mack is coming from a supply and demand perspective. You hold out, the Raiders get desperate, they pay Mack. The Raiders can fine him, though, $30,000 per day missed, according to the NFL's collective bargaining agreement. And it begs the question as well, and I've been kind of hinting at this. Are NFL players too greedy when it comes to money? Are they? We have a weigh-in for it. We'll show it to you guys. I want you weighing in on this. Because I was of the camp in regards to the Le'Veon Bell situation, and still am, that the Steelers probably should have paid Le'Veon Bell. Not necessarily because he deserves $14 million annually, but because it's what you should do. It's the reality of the NFL. You got to pay these players, especially cornerstone players like a Le'Veon Bell, one of the premier running backs in the NFL. So, are NFL players too greedy over money? Type Y for yes, type N for no in the comments section. Want to hear from you guys in regards to this discussion here. It's an interesting one because Khalil Mack's holding out, Earl Thomas is holding out, Aaron Donald is holding out. Those are some premier players. And oh yeah, Le'Veon Bell never got the contract extension that he wanted by that July 16th deadline. So, very much part of the discussion so far in the NFL training camp / preseason era. All right, let's talk about Andrew Luck here. He feels ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. Sounds like he is going to be deployed out there for week 1 of the preseason. Head coach Frank Reich said on Wednesday that the plan is for Luck to play in the August 9th preseason opener against the Seattle Seahawks. Luck went on to say, "I feel the best I felt in a long, long time." Now, he knows, of course, he needs to prepare for actual, real, live football. But if you're a Colts fan out there, you were completely satisfied with this news because 2017 as a Colts fan was not exactly an enjoyable experience, especially leading up to 2017 when there was some optimism that Andrew Luck was going to play at some point, and he never did. You didn't see a snap. So for Colts fans, in a way, this is all you can really ask for, a healthy Andrew Luck. And I saw a YouTube comment recently about the Colts, and the logic was that, well, it's a quarterback-driven league. Andrew Luck can carry this team. They're going 10-6. And I'm just like, okay, well, I understand the perspective of an elite quarterback carrying a team to 10 wins, but this is not an Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers situation here. This is Andrew Luck coming off a season where he never saw a snap during the regular year. Why would I buy into Andrew Luck carrying the Colts to 10-6 when you have a defense that is, quite frankly, not very talented as we stand, young and getting there, but right now not rich in talent, and an offense that has me wondering about the run game and has me wondering who's going to emerge after T.Y. Hilton on that wide receiver depth chart. So it's just like, where is that 10-6 exactly going to come from? That's what I'm wondering about there. But I digress. Andrew Luck, healthy, ready to go for the Indianapolis Colts, so that is fantastic news. And great news, by the way, for a general NFL fan. It's great to watch Andrew Luck play football. All right. I hate it when players do this. Jarvis Landry has come out and sang his praises about the Cleveland Browns. He thinks he can win a Super Bowl with Cleveland. Quote, "If we get everyone playing to their potential, we can win the Super Bowl this year." So Landry, in a sense, is not quite promising, but saying that the Cleveland Browns are Super Bowl 53 contenders. Every year this happens. Every year some player talks Super Bowl for some team that just should not be in the Super Bowl conversation. Will the Browns win Super Bowl 53? Type LOL for no. Type Cleveland, CLE, for yes, but I'm assuming a lot of LOLs are going to flow in. Shout out to C Warrior. I love your channel, Chat Sports, on YouTube Live. We love you, C Warrior. Keep it up. I understand the hype around the Cleveland Browns. Jarvis Landry is fantastic. Josh Gordon will be returning very, very soon. Corey Coleman's a good wide receiver when he's healthy. Good offensive line as well. And a secondary that is emerging. I like the defense overall in general. But this is a team that just went 0-16. Like, to say that a team goes from 0-16 to winning the Super Bowl is absolutely insane. It has never been done before, and quite frankly, I don't know if it ever will. It's kind of like having a perfect bracket in March Madness. I don't think it's ever going to happen, and I don't think an 0-16 team will come back the next year and win the Super Bowl. So, Jarvis, you're putting unneeded pressure on a team that is just trying to, in essence, be better than last year. So I think players within the locker room with the Cleveland Browns are probably like, dude, Jarvis, what are you doing? Like, why do this? It's just bulletin board material that you don't want. And yeah, there are other teams out there stealing some overrated labels, like the San Francisco 49ers and a couple of others, the Tennessee Titans perhaps as well. But the Browns, boy, they could be at the forefront of overrated if Jarvis Landry and maybe other players continue to talk like this. So, yeah. Just don't make predictions, guys. It never works. Pretty sure I've been saying this on this very show for many times. So, I don't know. I got nothing left to say about this. I'm going LOL in the comments section there. All right. We got Jameis Winston recently talking about the suspension that was levied against him, a 3-game suspension due to the incident that happened in the Uber and all that stuff. Winston said, "I'm just focused on moving forward. The quarterback added he's taken steps to improve himself, saying, quote, "I don't want to be a distraction. I just want to be able to focus on the season." He also apologized to teammates on Tampa Bay and asked fans to still support him. Went on to say, "I tell the fans to continue to support this team, continue to support me, because I've been here." So the suspension was officially for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. He can still participate in practices and preseason action, but he will miss those first 3 games for Tampa Bay. You got to wonder with Jameis, will he ever actually learn? And I don't know if he will, because this is just not a once-in-a-lifetime kind of deal with Winston. This is a systemic issue of Winston getting in trouble with the law in particular. And here we are again with Winston going on the apology tour. So I don't know if he'll ever improve. We'll see. You're watching the Cam Rogers Show, presented by AutoList. If you're looking for a new or used car out there and you're tired of browsing a million sites, go to Autolist.com to browse the largest source of inventory on the web, or download their top-rated mobile app for iPhone or Android right now. I'm Cam Rogers. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. Some more NFL rumors to power through here. We have another contract situation to discuss. Maybe not quite at the peak of it yet, but Ben Roethlisberger talked about it recently, said he isn't worried about a future contract after his current one expires, saying, quote, "I've got this year and next year." And he's focused on playing well and feels his arrow is pointing up in terms of how well he can play, which is in stark contrast to what he said after that Jacksonville Jaguars game, the first one last season, when he said, "Well, you know, I'm not sure if I have it anymore." Now, Roethlisberger was asked about the contract situation in the market in the NFL after Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan, of course, signed that big fat deal, and Aaron Rodgers could be next up. And Ben said, "How can you not notice when you see other quarterbacks sign big deals?" So if you're Ben Roethlisberger, it's probably a smart move to not talk about a contract situation with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, because they have that whole Le'Veon Bell thing to figure out. So Ben probably going the smart path here, not putting too much pressure on GM Kevin Colbert to get something done. He's going to play football. He's going to try to make his stock rise a little bit more and then go from there. Baker Mayfield recently spoke upon being the backup quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, saying he doesn't have a problem being second in line. Now, Browns coach Hugh Jackson said Mayfield won't see a lot of action with the first team this summer because Tyrod Taylor will be the starting quarterback, and that's no problem for Baker. And we're talking about a guy who just won the Heisman Trophy, just had an electric season with the Oklahoma Sooners. A little bit of humble pie for him. Maybe it's good news if you're Baker Mayfield from a mental perspective, right? Don't be rushed into the starting role, because here's where I could see problems. You're coming off a great year from college football. You're like, I got this. Now I'm a starter with the Cleveland Browns, and you fall flat on your face. So this is actually a good thing, I think, for Baker, and I think he believes that. Now, in terms of Tyrod Taylor and his long-term prognostications with the Browns, I don't think he's going to be the starter the entire season. I think we will eventually see Baker Mayfield as the starting quarterback, and Tyrod Taylor, he could be a backup the rest of his career after that. I just don't see him as a quality starting quarterback. I just don't. Watch the tape of Tyrod Taylor in that playoff game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it's pukey. So Baker Mayfield, I think, is the most polished NFL-ready quarterback in the NFL, and I think eventually he'll get his opportunity there. So for Baker Mayfield, good stuff. Good stuff. He's going about it the right way. All right, next up, this news broke, let's say a couple minutes before coming on air. Taylor Lewan got paid big time. Contract extension, 5-year deal worth some $80 million, including $50 million in guaranteed money. He becomes the highest paid lineman in history, so he surpasses Nate Solder. Taylor Lewan is one of the feisty tackles in the NFL. You got Jack Conklin on the other side for the Tennessee Titans. I really like that offensive line, especially at the tackle tandem. So you guys are like giving me crap out there. I'm not saying all of you, but some of you are giving me crap because the Tennessee Titans, I have them projected as the AFC South winners. Big reason why is because of their tackle tandem. I zone in on the offensive line a lot of times when I'm talking about predictions because offensive line is critical. Also a reason why I think Saquon Barkley is a little overrated because the Giants can't block right now, but I digress. The Titans have a great line on the offensive side. They have a great line on the defensive side. And if you can win the line of scrimmage, you are going to win football games. And if Marcus Mariota just takes a couple of steps in the right direction in terms of his improvement, in terms of his development as a quarterback, well, then there you go. So I think the Titans are going to be a very legit team in the AFC South this season, and they could absolutely be in contention for a Super Bowl victory. Now, they got to deal with New England, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, but I say that maybe Tennessee could be in the running. So keep that in mind because teams come out of nowhere sometimes in the NFL and emerge in the playoffs and get hot. I think the Tennessee Titans could qualify. All right, speaking of tackles, Jake Matthews agreed upon a 5-year deal worth $75 million. Yet another big-time extension here for the offensive line market. And this is really interesting because, of course, Nate Solder got paid with the Giants. And then you get Lewan getting paid with the Titans, and now Jake Matthews getting paid with the Atlanta Falcons. You know what the Falcons are doing? The Falcons are dotting their I's and crossing their T's with their franchise players. They revised the contract with Julio Jones. They paid Matt Ryan big time. They extended Dimitrov. They extended Dan Quinn. And now Jake Matthews, an improving left tackle by the year. By the way, now the third highest paid offensive lineman behind Lewan and Nate Solder, is cemented on that front five. So that goes back to my discussion about the Falcons in general in that I really think this is going to be a team to be reckoned with in the NFC South, in the NFC, and the NFL in general. So a little breaking news here in regards to a couple of offensive linemen in the NFL getting paid big time. Good to see.